Studio Ghibli's Grave of the Fireflies is a pretty well-known movie, wouldn't you agree? The iconic scene from Barefoot Gen of the atomic bomb dropping on Hiroshima is also pretty well known, even if not as many people have actually watched the movie. Between the two films, you get a basic idea for what it might have been like living in Japan during World War II, and what the aftermath of both the atomic bombs and the firebombings were like. These are situations in which we can't deny the amount of pure destruction they've caused, whether we believe they were a necessary evil or an unnecessary way to end things. It's hard to make light of a situation where so many people died. How would you explain it to children in a way that they could understand? Neither Barefoot Gen or Grave of the Fireflies exactly do that, as Gen shows the brutality for what it is, and Ghibli's Fireflies shows a more biased pro-Japan approach to the war. However, the creator of Barefoot Gen and its sequel, as well as a more polarizing movie, Beaten by the Black Rain, Keiji Nakazawa, was able to succeed in accomplishing this. When a child's pet dies, what do we normally say? I really wouldn't know too much actually. I only had a fish die up until I was about 7, when my grandfather died, and later a cat at around 13. I remember everything about my grandfather's death though, at least of what I was capable of seeing. His body, how it was positioned, what caused it, the body bag, and even one of the police officers taking me outside and playing with me during the whole ordeal, just to keep me busy. But I don't remember ever grieving, or the explanation that came afterwards. By the time my cat had passed, I had been old enough to understand that life isn't a permanent thing. Family members before had lost animals, homes, and I'd already lost my grandfather. So I only hear stories. I've never experienced it. Stories of people replacing their children's pets with lookalikes, saying the animal ran away, or giving some wishy-washy explanation to dodge the idea of death altogether, to preserve the innocence of being a child. But when it comes to a mass tragedy, how do you explain that? I was in 3rd grade on September 11th, 2001, just about 2 hours north of Ground Zero. Despite already losing my grandfather, I couldn't imagine what had just happened in my dreams. For a few years after that, I had nightmares that mirrored the horror in Barefoot Gen, including, but not limited to, visions of planes shooting down the street that I lived on, bombs being dropped over my school, my family dying in fire. I'm quite sure that that was the event that made me understand what death really is, especially when prior to that I was dreaming about fighting alongside Tommy Oliver and defeating Goldar with him. Summer with Kuro is exactly how we can piece these ideas together, focusing mainly on 2 children taking care of a kitten in the summer of 1945, leading up to the destruction of the bomb that exploded over Hiroshima. We still see the damage, but we see very little of it. This is about how our elementary school-aged protagonist Nobuko and her younger brother Makoto perceive the situation. Remember hearing as a child to never run back into a burning building after you've escaped? We see Nobuko do this during an air raid because she doesn't have her kitten, Kuro, with her, inevitably putting her in danger. The children we follow don't understand war. Their perception of it is as simple as, war is dumb. They don't take their patriotic upperclassmen too seriously either. They just want to be kids. They just want to play with their kitten. Realistically, this film is more about the value of a life and understanding the cessation of that life than the actual event of the bombing. In the first few scenes, Nobuko rescues Kuro from a murder of crows, which capture his siblings and kill his mother. Death isn't a foreign concept to this child. She isn't completely innocent, and I'm sure the motions of wartime aid in that stripping of her innocence. We do inevitably see the damage that the bomb caused, but it's very toned down in comparison to how Barefoot Gen depicted it. But this is a film targeted towards children, so don't expect too much brutality out of this. Some children probably recall being introduced to death through movies like The Lion King, Bambi, or Old Yeller, and Summer with Kuro isn't too far removed from those movies. Death is handled in such a way where it primarily focuses on the animals, but at the same time we get a glimpse at the damage caused to humans. It's hard to avoid the brutality of war, even if you want to preserve the innocence of children. One day they'll come to understand it. But it's not something as easily hidden as the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny, when the results of it may harm them daily, even if they survived the hardest times of war. If you're looking for a realistic portrayal of the bombings, this really isn't it. It's about as lighthearted a take as you can even get on this event. If it were dubbed, I would recommend it for history lessons for children on the brutal nature of humans in war, but unfortunately it never received one. And it's also pretty hard to come by. You can find it here on YouTube, but the full movie upload only has like 100 views. I'll leave the link below if you're interested in watching it though.